Hey everybody, welcome to the Abbots Address. Today is Friday, September 30th, 2016. So the question that needs some responding to is how to sit with difficult feelings, with strong emotions. Particularly, some people have been asking about sitting with grief and grieving. So it's really rough. It's hard. I mean, sitting with really difficult feelings can be really difficult, and there's just no way to say that that's not the case. Except it is also possible to say that as we gain experience with our practice, and as we gain experience with our own mind and heart and our body and our lives in this way, that a few things happen. One of them is that we are able to erode this sort of desperate, uncritically examined need to flinch away from anything that's difficult, from anything that's painful. Sometimes the grieving is so intense, the loss is so intense, that it can literally feel like you're sitting there kind of like in a boiling water. You know, it's scalding and it's just terrible, and we want to do anything basically to escape the pain. But you see, the thing is that there's really nowhere you're going to be able to run anyway. Not if it's real. I mean, if you're really grieving, the healthiest and best thing to do is to really grieve, not to anesthetize or disassociate or run away from or convince oneself of something else. I mean, it's actually be with your life exactly as it is. So using all the ingredients of your life, including this sense of loss and sadness, this grieving. So there's nothing un-Buddhist or un-Zen about grieving or feeling sad at loss or having difficult emotions arise when we sit. It's not the case that if you were to somehow perfect yourself in this Zen way, however you understand that to be, that you would not feel anything difficult in your life anymore. That would, if that were true, then I would say that the practice would have no worth. It's not about that. It's not about escaping from your human life. Rather, it's actually being with your life exactly as it really is in a full and complete and awakened way. So rather than using your Buddhism to escape from suffering, in this case, you actually want to become the Buddha of suffering, become the Buddha of grieving. And in this way, it actually changes from specifically and technically calling it dukkha, or so that kind of suffering, to actually being just the experience of difficult emotion. See? So the wisdom is to not run. And the impulse is to like flinch away and wince and not see it, and to just kind of anything but, you know. So be the Buddha of sorrow in that moment. That's the way samsara is nirvana. So it's not about escaping. So practically, what does this look like? Well, it can be messy, so have some tissues, you know. But it means, you know, practice anyway, even though it's a very sad time and a very difficult time. Sit anyway. Definitely sit anyway. Make sure that you take care of the most important matter, which is your life, which is your mind, your heart, your compassion, and your wisdom, and your presence. This is what needs the attending. And if the texture of your life at any particular moment, it can happen for any of us, and in fact it's quite guaranteed too, there will come a time when the texture of that practice is just overwhelming grief. So then don't miss it. Don't miss that moment of your life. Be there fully, whole body, whole mind, whole heart, whole everything. Bring it into that grieving and really grieve. and sit there on the cushion, the bodhisattva of all those who mourn the loss. Be the one who hears the cries of the world. And it starts with our own cries. It's that kind of fearlessness, it's the kind of heroism that it takes for us to be able to tolerate our own life, to be able to find our own life workable, and to even love our own lives, that enables us to tolerate other people's lives and make it workable with other folks, and to actually love everybody. This is definitely my experience. And so we have things like the ritual that I talked about last week with the home altar, and we have the liturgy and the home liturgy, things that we can say, things that we can do in the space to arrange the space. But ultimately it has to do with how we arrange and hold our mind and our body and our heart. So in the midst of the suffering, just sit. Your practice doesn't have to become anything different. Now, if it does come to a point where your sitting is such that you cannot, let us say you're working with the breath, and the grief is so intense, the agitations are so insurmountable that there's no way you can see the thought, acknowledge it, let it go, and come back to the breath because it just keeps reasserting all the time. Well, if that's the case, then you can simply just pay attention to that felt sensation in the body. Pay attention to the feeling and just witness it. Just watch it. See, sometimes when we let things go, they just go away because they're basically just static or white noise. But sometimes, like a case of intense grieving, then you might try to let that go, and it's not going to let go. It's going to come back. It's sticky. There's a charge around it. So, in that time, just simply pay attention to that felt sensation of sorrow, of grief, of loss. Be with it. Stay with it. Pay attention to it. Don't pick it up and play with it. Don't take it on. Don't act everything out and ramp everything up, but rather just pay attention to it. Witness it. And what you'll find is that it, too, is impermanent. That sensation will have its rising and its experience and then its dissipation. And that by not pushing it away or playing with it, pretending it's not there, then you're not feeding it any energy, and the thing will eventually dissipate, and then you can bring yourself back to the breath practice. And then the feeling may assert again and do the same process again. But that's the fearlessness of the practice, is to be able to sit there in the midst of, and in fact be able to sit there as grieving itself. So sit there and be grief. For yourself, for me, for all of us. Now some announcements. Right now, sesshin is happening at the farm. So I really encourage everybody to make effort to come and participate in as much of the sesshin as you can. Even if that just means popping in for a chunk of a Saturday afternoon, then do that. Come in and plug in, get connected, connect to the sesshin if you can, because that's where the juice is right now. And on Sunday we'll have our normal class time at 9:30, and orientation at 10:30, and sutra service at 11, just like usual. And then next week, the liturgy, or the leadership council rather, will be meeting. Your leadership council, the Sangha leadership council, will be meeting. And I'd like you to know that if you ever have things that you would like to have brought up for conversation within the leadership council meeting, or if you have something you'd like to present, or some suggestion or idea or comment, something that you think would be useful, you'd like to propose in an item for the agenda, you're super welcome to do that. Your leadership council president is Zuise, and you're welcome to send her a note and let her know what thoughts you may have, and she'll respond to you accordingly, or someone from the leadership council will. So keep them all in your intentions. They're working hard to help keep the Sangha healthy and growing and stable, and they're doing a great job. Okay, thank you everybody.